Welcome to Psych with Sigmund, the show where we delve into the fascinating world of psychology and explore the intricacies of the human mind. I'm your host, Sigmund, and today we're going to talk about a phenomenon that will make you question what you think you know about perception, the McGurk Effect. So, what is the McGurk Effect? In simple terms, it's a psychological concept that demonstrates how our brains can trick us into perceiving reality in a certain way. This effect occurs when we're presented with conflicting visual and auditory information, and our brain tries to make sense of it by creating a new perception that's different from the actual sensory inputs. For example, imagine you're watching a video of someone saying the sound ga, while the audio is dubbed with the sound ba. What do you think you'll hear? Most people will report hearing a sound that's somewhere in between, like da. This effect has been extensively studied in psychology, and it has significant implications for our understanding of human perception, cognition, and behavior. The McGurk effect was first discovered in the 1970s by psychologists Harry McGurk and John MacDonald. They conducted a series of experiments where they presented participants with conflicting visual and auditory information and measured their perceptions. The results showed that people's perceptions were influenced by both the visual and auditory cues, even when they conflicted with each other. But why is this effect important in psychology? Well, it highlights the complex and dynamic nature of human perception. Our brains are constantly processing multiple sources of information, and we're not always aware of how these different inputs are influencing our perceptions. The McGurk effect shows us that our perception of reality is not always a direct reflection of the world around us, but rather a construction of our brain's interpretation of sensory data. From a theoretical perspective, the McGurk effect can be explained by several psychological frameworks, including multisensory integration theory and cognitive neuroscience. These theories suggest that our brains integrate information from multiple senses to create a unified perception of reality. However, when there are conflicts between different sensory inputs, our brain may create a new perception that's different from the actual sensory data. Research on the McGurk effect has also shown that it's not limited to speech sounds. It can occur with music, environmental sounds, and even tactile sensations. For example, studies have found that people's perceptions of touch can be influenced by visual cues, such as watching someone else being touched. This effect has significant implications for our understanding of human perception and cognition. But what about real-world applications of the McGurk effect? Understanding this concept can help us appreciate the complexity of human communication and how easily our perceptions can be influenced. For example, in a courtroom setting, eyewitness testimony may be affected by the McGurk effect, where the visual cues of a person's lips moving can influence what we think we heard them say. In everyday life, being aware of the McGurk effect can also help us become more mindful of our own biases and assumptions. By recognizing how our brains can trick us into perceiving reality in a certain way, we can strive to be more open-minded and nuanced in our interactions with others. For instance, when communicating with someone who has a different accent or language background, being aware of the McGurk effect can help us avoid misinterpreting their words or intentions. Additionally, research on the McGurk effect has also led to the development of new therapeutic approaches for individuals with sensory processing disorders or other perceptual difficulties. For example, some therapies use multisensory integration techniques to help individuals better integrate visual and auditory information, which can improve their communication skills and overall quality of life. In conclusion, the McGurk effect is a fascinating psychological concept that highlights the complex and dynamic nature of human perception. By understanding how our brains process sensory information and create perceptions, we can gain valuable insights into human cognition, behavior, and communication. So, what can you take away from today's episode? First, be aware of the potential for your brain to trick you into perceiving reality in a certain way. Second, recognize that human perception is complex and multifaceted, and that different people may perceive the same information differently. And finally, appreciate the importance of considering multiple sources of information when making decisions or interpreting sensory data. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, May your ego find balance between pleasure and reality.